Yeah.
And audio will be going in 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to episode 80 of the Degenerates Clubhouse. Mondo, can I get an evil laugh? I said evil laugh, not Count Chocula.
one stupid intro.
That,
Two stupid degenerates.
that was actually still the funniest joke from. Remember that play we saw called what was it? Avenue Q. We saw it in New York, and it was sort of like supposed to be adult themed Sesame Street on Broadway, and there was just this one part where they were doing like the count, and they're like 4 nightstands, 3 nightstands, 2 nightstands, and then they get to 1 nightstand, and there's puppet fucking. Yeah,
I don't remember that vividly.
I remember that one joke, and then I don't think that musical actually held up, but
I'd
But-
watch it again.
oh yeah, for sure. In a show, I would for sure. But you know what? Speaking of creative endeavors,
Okay.
because I know we discussed a little bit last episode one of our, I think maybe it was 2 episodes ago, one of our fraternity brothers, and how sometimes he gets a little manic at night. But I do want to give a quick shout out to what's his full name, Eric Ehrenleiser, because one of his really positive qualities that I always admired was when he had a creative project going, he would just pull everyone into it one way or the other. And sometimes I was like, hey, maybe think through the actual creative project a little bit more. But you know what? Sometimes great is the enemy of good, and he would just go full forward. And I remember there was like some event on campus, and he had like a script, and it was sort of maybe not quite as well thought out as Avenue Q, but he was just pulling everyone in and organizing and directing. And I always thought that was a great quality. I've always been much more solitary in my creative endeavors. But here's the thing, Mondo. I've got a creative endeavor that I think I'm gonna play with others on.
What?
Yeah. So here's the sort of short backstory. I there's somebody I met like a while ago in the Denver area who, like, she's like an actress. I think she does mostly just stage and theater stuff. But I know she A, liked horror, and B, was like, yeah, I don't really have a reel that I'm proud of. And the way my brain works, I'm like, well, why don't you just make a movie then? And then I realized most people, they don't have that sort of impetus to be like, oh, if I don't have if I can't get cast in a good role, I'll just make one for myself. So this past week, I had gotten these injections that are supposed to be like diagnostic, where I was going to have like a few hours where hopefully it would reduce the pain. And I was like, oh, okay, let me. And I'm supposed to actually kind of like test things out, right? I'm supposed to go in positions that would normally be uncomfortable, so forth and so on. And I was also really, really tired. It sounds like both of us have had some trouble sleeping the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Fair to say.
Yeah.
So I was trying to keep myself up, and I'd actually had this idea for like a kind of a mashup between a little bit of a horror movie and a little bit of a rom-com. And I just started writing it because I was trying to keep myself from falling asleep. And then I just like wrote this whole it's a short film. It's like probably be about 14, 15 minutes to an actual film time.
Does it involve puppets?
No, there's no puppets. That's probably the biggest weakness of the movie. But I was trying to keep it simple and easy to film.
So how is this connected to the girl that you're supposed to be working with?
Well, that was the thing. I had no idea if she'd want anything to do with it, but I just finished it and like sent her the script, and she got really excited and wanted to make it. And she was like, and there's actually I did use a copyrighted song. And she was like, well, I think I can get an investor that would pay for the licensing rights. And she was like all excited about it. I'm like, holy crap. Okay. All right. Oh, shit. Now I have to figure out how to actually make a movie. But yeah, I think I'm going to try to actually make it.
Cool.
I was excited.
So now that you're done with one of your trailer homes, you're like, I have extra time. Let's make a movie.
Basically, that's more or less. And now I'm like, fucking, I need someone to buy the travel trailer because I'm like, yeah, I might have to pay for the licensing rights for Don't Stop Believing.
Is that what it's called?
No, that's what Journey, Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was called. Your project. I thought it was called
No,
Don't Start.
no. No.
But the song played.
The song. So you could swap really any song in, and how much it costs to license one might be a factor. The way I did it, I could post it on YouTube without paying any licensing rights, and it wouldn't get flagged. But if somehow it actually turns out good, and they wanted to submit it to like a festival or something like that, then yeah, you have to license it.
Ooh.
I'm a little bit worried because, like I said, as I was writing, I'm like, how can I make this as simple to film as possible? Like, horror is actually tough because usually there are some special effects involved and things like that, and it can look really janky if you can't execute the technical aspects. So it's trying to keep it simple, but even with that in mind, it could still be tricky. So it might not come out well, but it'd still be cool just to be like, I made a movie with somebody.
Yeah. Next thing you know, you'll be, flying across the country trying to get in front of like producers and movie critics and film producers and shit, and trying to get your movie licensed.
Yeah. Well, and if I did that, and there was like, say, like a celebrity or someone who I think that would invest in the film, like I would definitely go up to them.
You'd go up to them?
Yeah. If they're in first class, just trying to enjoy like a little champagne or whatever, I'm like, I'd get right in their face, tell them all about the movie. How could that possibly end badly? Mondo, this was a team effort on this crappy transition. Let's go.
No, it worked. It worked. Guess what? Florida Man, this week in Florida Man, our favorite superhero, anti-hero, decides to approach another celebrity in the plane, none other than Mr. Mike Tyson, former heavyweight boxing champion. Mike Tyson's airplane punching bag is Florida Man with extensive criminal record. Former heavyweight boxing champion.
Wait, just real quick. I was trying to think. Is there a worse possible celebrity to do that to?
You don't want to fuck with anybody that has been a fighter of any kind, whether it's an MMA guy or a boxing guy. So no.
Well, I know Mike Tyson has like found himself because he started smoking weed all the time and taking mushrooms and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you can tell, like, even through the cloud of smoke and psilocybin, there's some darkness in that guy, and I don't think you want to set him off of all people on a small enclosed cylinder flying through the air at like 10,000 feet.
Former heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson delivered his brand of airline justice on Wednesday afternoon after boarding a flight from San Francisco to Miami, laying waste to an obnoxious passenger hell-bent on getting a reaction from the retired Iron Man. Unfortunately, Mr. Tyson had an incident on a flight with an aggressive passenger who began harassing him and threw a water bottle at him while he was in his seat. A spokesperson of Tyson told ESPN reporter Mike blah 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 on Thursday.
Should have been a Monster Energy can. Then he could have gotten some product placement money.
The victim has been identified as 36-year-old Melvin George Townsend III. That just sounds like a fucking
Melvin George Townsend III. Because this story came out before we knew who the quote unquote victim was, and I just remember I was like, please let this be a Florida man. It has to be. It has to be. And then it turned out to be the most gloriously deranged Florida man ever. So continue.
This man is from Punta Gorda, Florida, which, if we're gonna translate in English, Spanish to Español con Armando, Punta Gorda means Fat Point. So this guy's from Fat Point, Florida, who already served 2 jail sentences after being convicted of fraud, grand theft, burglary, possession of controlled substances, and trafficking of stolen property.
I know what the stolen property was. He stole a travel trailer. Because I saw that, I was like, oh no, I'm a little bit worried. I'm glad I'm not in Florida because I have a very nice travel trailer now. Dude just drove his truck up into someone's yard, hitched up to their travel trailer, and took off. And then was surprised when he couldn't get away from the cops, dragging a big-ass travel trailer.
Townsend, this is what's tripping me. I'm reading this for the first time. Aaron read it before, so he kind of knows. But Townsend is not expected to press charges. I'm like, wait a minute. You get to fuck with somebody, and if you get punched, no, you were the one fucking with somebody. How does he get to be the one to press charges? I would have been anyway.
Because he did get pieced up a little bit. If you see the after photos of him,
Stop fucking with people.
Yeah, well, that's how the world should work.
Yeah.
But
officers were dispatched to a physical altercation on board an airplane. A spokesperson for the San Francisco Police Department told ESPN the subject provided minimal details of the incident and refused to cooperate further with the police investigation. Tyson returned to Miami later that day after battling fellow aging pugilist Roy Jones Jr. to a draw under the Triller banner in late 2020. The 55-year-old Tyson went back into retirement to focus on his cannabis business as well as hot boxing podcast. As for the airline assault, that appears to be over and done for now. I don't know, man.
Have you listened to any of the hot boxing podcast?
No, but I heard it's
it's a rough listen
because he just gets super baked.
Oh, he's so high. He to the point where I don't think his guests do necessarily, and he just does not know where he is. But
yeah.
You know what? Every now and again, I think Mike Tyson does actually drop a true, legitimate nugget of wisdom.
He's been doing a lot of things. Because you got to remember, Tyson, when he was fighting, he was this monster, and then he went and got convicted of, sexual assault or something with his, then wife or fiance or girlfriend or some shit. And obviously, when that happened, people were like, "Oh no, Mike Tyson fall from grace." And then he kind of, at least to me, kind of just disappeared, and then made a weird comeback in. I mean, he did The Hangover, and then he did. I don't think you've seen it, but it's a cartoon show, a short series called Mike Tyson's Mysteries.
I did see that.
It's like Scooby Doo meets Mike Tyson. It's so hilarious. It's fucking
well, and he also had a one man show, I think, on Broadway for a while. It was supposed to be really good.
And so all this stuff, and then now he's doing this weed thing. So now Tyson's become, and he always was a Hall of Famer in boxing, but he's become more of a hero again. Now he's kind of looked at under a positive light, and then you have this fucking asshole mid-airplane who just decides to fuck with him. I mean, I know Tyson's no longer competing, but the dude can still bang. The dude still. They show pictures of him and shit when obviously when he was boxing, he was in certain physique. And then they show him kind of let himself go a little bit, and then now he's back to I wouldn't say fighting prime, but the dude's ripped. I wouldn't want to fuck with him. He's a fucking little tank. So good for Tyson for fucking punching. And I think a lot of YouTubers and bloggers and everything feel the same way. It was good for Tyson.
Oh, that he hit him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially once if the guy did throw a water bottle at him, if the other guy initiated any sort of physical confrontation, at that point, you know what, Mike Tyson, as long as he definitely has sort of a burning red rage demon deep in his belly. As long as you keep that from completely getting out, Mike Tyson, you know what, you defend yourself.
I'm wondering why the hell the airline people didn't get involved before it got out of hand. Obviously, if someone's fucking with somebody else. And then I didn't see the whole video, but you could see the video that led up to how Tyson got kind of angered.
Well, you got to remember, I mean, in this story, at least the way we're framing it, Mike Tyson is certainly our protagonist, but Florida Man is not an antagonist to be trifled with. You think just some mere flight attendants can rein in a fully triggered Florida Man? No, come on.
Apparently he was, I don't think this article goes into that detail, but apparently the guy was fucking hammered, right? Is that what I read somewhere else?
I mean, let's just assume that he was under the influence of something. I've already said he was Florida Man.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little bit redundant. And all these Florida Man stories that we've covered, it seems like there's a running theme of some sort of substance abuse. Florida Man gets drunk and burns down his own house because he thinks there's demons. Florida Man is high on meth and robs a gas station with his Was there one where he tried to rob a gas station just with like a finger gun?
Yep, we did one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so you know what? In in this never-ending battle against the sort of sometimes anti-hero, sometimes straight-up villain that is Florida Man, maybe what we needed was an angry Mike Tyson.
That was my fart.
I thought there was a duck in your apartment.
I think I think the microphone might have picked up. Anyway, fuck. I mean, yeah. I feel I'm on Team Mike Tyson, even though he was physically violent. This was like one where like, yeah, get him back. Because you've been on an airplane and maybe it's not happened to you, but like a little kid like is just like kicking your seat or doing something annoying. You're like don't you just wish to like fucking deck the kid or like tell the parents like, hey, fucking straighten your kid out, like pay attention.
More the latter.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever wanted to hit a little kid on a plane.
Oh, I have.
Maybe smack the parent and be like, fucking deal with it.
Fucking be a parent. Jesus Christ.
But yeah. In this case with a grown man, I think there's certainly a line where it's like, you know what, if you're gonna, box him up just a little bit, I think that's okay. If Mike Tyson was like, yeah, I'm gonna box him up and then I'm gonna try to rape him, and that's gonna it's like, okay, whoa,
bite
Mike,
his ear.
Mike, rein it back in. But yeah, no ear biting, no raping. So I think does that get a degenerate's 2 thumbs up seal of approval?
Sure. Anyway, that was it for Florida Man. Stupid idiot.
I realized we'd made it through that entire story, and I hadn't tried one bad Mike Tyson impression. I'm like, no.
And then toward the end, you're like,
I've got to do it.
Yeah. Moving on to the world of Reddit. Ask Reddit question number 1. Aaron, which situation will always create high sexual tension?
You know what? I don't have a great answer for this one. You go first.
So I used to be in theater, like let's see, junior high. Like I did a little bit of it in junior high. I did one like
as an actor.
Yeah, and then there was like a musical at the.
What was the penultimate Armando Ramirez role?
I never played any big roles.
Okay.
They were always like side character. Like acting was just some fun.
Hey, Armando, there's no small parts, only small actors.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite part?
I don't know. No, that we're talking about sexual tension.
I know. I just want. I'm trying to imagine you on stage, so I need to know the part.
I guess I don't know. The one I did in college was kind of cool.
Okay.
I was like a security guard guy.
Security guard number 1. Armando Ramirez. Nice.
It was the show was like Antigone, but it was kind of a reimagined Antigone, like more modern.
Got it.
And like instead of like jailers,
Yeah, I get you.
I was like a security guy.
Okay.
With like a.
So you're a Shakespearean actor.
I guess, sure.
Wow, I never knew.
So yeah, like I took like a drama class in junior high and in high school, and I was in a couple plays here and there, and every now and again you'd be like waiting in the wings or in the green room or some kind of waiting room for your scene to come up or for your whatever, and I always thought it was like weird, at least to me, like there was always like this sexual if you were in this green room or waiting room waiting to go on, and you were in this room with like alone with someone of the opposite sex, I always thought it was kind of like it was kind of, there's always this tension to like, hey, can we make out? And in fact, I think when I was in high school, I forget, it was like some talent show or some other nonsense, and I was in the waiting or in the green room, the makeshift green room with this other female cast member that had very, very nice breasticles, and I remember we're like full on making out, and I'm touching on them breasticles and all this, and it was hot and it was awesome because it was kind of like any given moment we're supposed to be up on stage or somebody could be like walk in on us. It was kind of like that kind of weird, something could happen, someone could barge in, kind of thing. So it's kind of like, hey baby, we're locked in this room alone. Let's do something.
She's like, hey, is that your security baton, or are you happy to see me?
No, that time I wasn't the security guy. That would have been
That's why I was asking.
Yeah, that would have been a good line. But yeah, I always thought it was weird sexual tension in settings like that.
As you're talking, I thought of a good one.
Okay, go ahead.
I feel like this is more of like a high school. Plus, if you're a guy in high school, I feel like I could have just said high school is what I'm trying to say.
Uh-huh.
Like, literally every situation, the most mundane, bland situation when you're a high school guy, you're like, oh, sexual tension for me, for you, probably not for the girls as much.
Oh yeah, you're like she's just talking to you. You have a boner.
you're just roll call in in your homeroom, and the 60-year-old male teacher says your name, and you're like, oh
no,
the fuck is that?
Holy moly.
but no, so for me, there was a little metamorphosis I went through between my sophomore year and my junior year of high school, where I was kind of on the smaller side as a freshman, and then I had this huge growth spurt as a sophomore, so I was kind of tall and skinny. And junior, like that sophomore year summer after I had that growth spurt, was the first time I really like got in a weight room, and I started getting like way buffer. I was got kind of ripped and everything. And I remember, for whatever reason, I still wasn't definitely wasn't popular, but I got roped into like doing a summer car wash.
Why? Because you were like a physical specimen, or just because?
No, that's the thing. Nobody knew it yet.
Oh, okay.
So that was my little secret.
Oh.
Because no one had really seen me since the sophomore year, and I think it was literally they were just trying to get people, and I don't know why they asked me. It might have been because one of the other wrestlers who was, I think, in student government and stuff like that, he was doing it, so he might have been like, oh, I'll call Aaron and he just knew me from wrestling, but we weren't like really friends or anything. And I just remember it being me. It was like me and Jeff, who was the other wrestler. And I think he's a pretty good looking guy, and there were a bunch of girls that had crushes on him, and then I'm sort of there like, oh, all right, I'm here, I'm gonna do a car wash with you guys. And then there was one like really really cute girl, and there was another girl named like Katie, who was maybe not as cute, but she was like just a complete jock. Like she was soccer and basketball and lacrosse, and she was a probably like the best like girls athlete in the school. And like we're doing the car wash, and I get excited. I'm like, oh my god, I get to like take my shirt off and look ripped. Like this is the first time I've ever had this opportunity in my life. This is amazing. And like there was one point where I remember this girl Katie like saying she's trying to articulate that she thought like the guys would also like pull in some people. Because I might have I can't remember how it came up, but it was basically Katie was like, yeah, I mean, like Jeff's so cute, and then Aaron right now, and then she gets like tongue tied, and I'm like, oh my god, am I being sexually ogled? Awesome, this is amazing. This is the first time this has ever happened, and yeah, apparently I remembered it. But it's like you cannot do a car wash, 2 guys and 2 girls doing a gas station car wash.
Did you guys
not have sexual tension?
Did you guys like throw water at each other and like soap and bubbles and shit?
I don't think I did.
No,
I don't remember that.
You didn't get like a wet sponge and like play like I don't know, tag with the wet sponge, like throw it at each other and getting the girls wet.
There had to have been some of the splashing. I just remember from that car wash. I remember that comment, and then it was like we needed to go get something. Like I don't know if it was more soap or something like that. And like so, myself and this girl Rachel, who definitely like really really cute girl, go to get it, and she's driving, and that was like the most terrified I'd ever been in my life, because she was I don't understand how she had a license.
Oh, she drove reckless.
She was going like 65 in a 30 zone,
and
it was like a busy street. I'm like, we're gonna die.
Yeah,
this is insane. It was literally like she had watched that movie Clueless, and you remember how bad of a driver Alicia Silverstone was?
Nope.
And take my word for it. And she was just like, I will do that, but 10 times worse.
So you went from getting like a kind of a chubby from the situation you were in washing cars with 2 girls to like, holy shit, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Nice.
That summer was crazy. I went to summer school. That was not because I had bad grades at that point. I didn't get bad grades until after that. But that was just a thing kids in my high school did. They're like, yeah, we're gonna get ahead, and like we'll take extra classes. So, and I went to summer school at this Quaker school called Friends Central, and the Friends Central kids were really chill. I kind of wish I'd gone there, to be honest. But one of the people attending was not a Friends Central school kid. He was the son of one of the Pennsylvania congresswomen, and that kid was just like a complete player. And he invited all of us in the summer school class over to his house, which was like this huge ass like borderline mansion, and then it had like a carriage house and it had a huge pool. And I just remember there were two really cute girls, and in like one deft motion, he managed to pull off both of their bikini tops.
Nice.
And I was just like watching this like in awe. I'm like, holy shit! Like it was like I'd watched like David Copperfield like produce like a horse out of his hat instead of a rabbit. I was like, how did you do that? That was amazing. Teach me teach me how the trick works, Andrew, please. That was a long answer, but
yeah,
there was, you know what? That was a summer of a lot of sexual tension. Holy shit! Now I'm just remembering there was more, but I will stop there.
Some of the other answers from other Redditors for that question. User Elo_solo writes, movies as a tween. You and your boo shared that big ass $27 popcorn tub and your fingers touch. Welcome to your first giggity. Yeah. Putting your arm around, like trying to figure out a way to put your, like the movies do it, like you try to put your arm around the girl like in like a suave way, or user Glowy_clublights writes, swimming alone together. Oh yeah. Yeah, that happened once when I was a tween. We were we were out like camping or some shit, like with the cousins of ours, and it was like in Pismo Beach, California, which is like
that's the other number one time when sexual tension comes up, when you're with your cousins.
No. And this other girl that was there camping, this little white girl, like I was like flirting with her, obviously, and it was like, I bet you can't touch the bottom of the pool or something like that. We would, yeah, it was all. Anyway.
So she wasn't your cousin.
No.
That is one of probably still one of the best Jeff Foxworthy jokes ever. If you go to your family reunion to meet women, you might be a redneck.
Oh no. User Ocean of Flavor writes, when you're sitting next to someone you like who likes you back and your knees or legs start touching, but neither of you pull away, so you're both just aware that you're touching and getting closer. Yeah, that's like high school shit, like pre-high school shit.
Yeah, still does not have hold a candle to the car wash.
Last one I'll read. User Jesfa writes, multiple instances of accidental eye contact.
Yeah, you do that little like eye contact dance.
If you do the eye contact dance, like I'm not looking, but you get caught looking and you're looking,
and then they look, and then
and then all it takes is one of you to smile, and then it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong. Anyway, that's it for Reddit question number 1. Reddit question number 2. What are the best comebacks you know to any kind of insults?
All right. So this is not a blanket one. There's just two instances I remember that I thought were great comebacks. And this first one's not even really a comeback. It was just one of the funniest clips I've ever seen on the history of the internet. It was the show Parks and Rec. And they did like a lot of improv, and it was it's who's the main actress on that? I can't remember her name now.
Blonde chick.
It's Leslie Knope is the character, but yeah. So they're just saying like, yeah, this is like one of the greatest comeback stories of our time, like Seabiscuit, like, and then Chris Pratt goes like, he's like, yeah, and like Kim Kardashian, and they're like, no, I don't think that was really a comeback story, and he's like, no, I'm pretty sure she had come on her back in the video. They were just that whole cast. I mean, because they had a bunch of people on set. Everyone broke. It was cracking up.
Amy Poehler, by the way.
Thank you, Amy Poehler. But this to this day, just how quick and sharp it was is one of the best comebacks I ever remember. This was also in high school. This is like, like everyone's kind of filtering in before the bell rings and they're taking their seats. And there was this one kid named Ayal.
Ayal?
Because that was his name, Ayal Ebel.
What was his or her ethnicity?
I'm going to say Jewish. I don't know, though.
Ayal Esbel?
Ebel.
Ebel?
I think.
Holy
I don't really
shit.
know him or don't remember his name that well, but yeah. And he's sitting in his seat. And he was always kind of like a sharp dresser. You could tell like he was trying to present himself well. And I think he was wearing maybe a black polo or something like that. And this other kid, Andy, comes in, who is a little kind of that like know-it-all sort of maybe a little bit annoying at times. But so Andy walks in and sees Al sitting in his seat. He's like, "Hey, so what's up, J. Crew?" And just not missing a beat. J. Crew is a store.
Mm-hmm.
He was obviously referencing the outfit the kid was wearing.
Uh-huh.
And without missing a beat, AL goes, "Nothing. What's up with you, Lane Bryant?" And I was like, "Oh my god!" That's just a fatality. For anyone that is not aware, Lane Bryant is a store catering to overweight women.
That's a good
Holy
one.
shit. And yeah, Andy was, wasn't like obese or anything, but he was definitely a little bit overweight. And it's just like, just cut right to the core. Like, hopefully Andy can let those things go better than I can. But if that were me in his place, I would still wake up in the middle of the night and like hear that come back, just echoing my brain like, oh my God, no. Took a little piece of his soul that day, I would guess.
My comebacks aren't as good as those ones. Those are good ones. Mine's dumb. Mine are when I was a kid. I used to use the, "I know you are, but what am I?" And then, or when someone would do that to you, then you'd respond with, "I don't want to tell you because you might cry." Get it? I know you are, but what am I? I don't want to tell you because you might cry.
Get it?
It's like a double. Like, oh yeah, you're gonna be smart ass. I'm gonna be a smart ass back even more.
Infinity plus one, motherfucker.
Yeah. And then another one that's not really a good comeback, but you can use it in just about any situation, is like if someone like calls you anything, it doesn't matter what is good, bad, or otherwise weird, whatever. You say, "Oh yeah, well you're weird." Just take that same one and say, "Oh no, you're that." Like that's like a classic. Like everyone can use that. It says required no skill.
So I did learn it's definitely a lot harder, but like the real trick to comebacks is if you can use ones that are fairly original, because most of the put downs, especially amongst like an athletic team or a certain type of guy, they're all pretty much the same. And that was one of the things that I still feel a little bit bad about with some of my actual college friends, was because when I showed up at Whittier, I was actually getting a lot of shit from the lacrosse team. I had not learned the art of the comeback. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, like these guys are actually really dumb. It's all the same shit.
Yeah.
Like I can just crush them verbally because they're fucking idiots. But as I was working on that, I think some of some of these sort of biting comebacks certainly spilled over to my friends, and I'm still regretful for that.
All right. Well, let's see what some of the users on Reddit have to say about comebacks. Let's see. User sandpaper_pants writes, "I learned this in the 3rd grade. If someone sticks their tongue out at you, you say, 'No thanks, I use toilet paper.' They will never do it again. Works with all ages." Oh, wow. Holy shit. That's fucked up.
And then if they say it's like, "Hey, you don't know if you like it until you try it," then it's also on. That goes back to our first question of what creates sexual tension.
Yeah. User sprinkles more 8471.
Do you remember that Shel Silverstein poem, "Danny's First Rim Job"?
Whoa, I was like, I don't remember that one.
Oh, good lord.
User sprinkles more 8471 writes, when you're talking to someone, you say, "Oh, now I see what people are talking about," and then you never fill them in, and all of a sudden they're like caught off guard. You're like, "Wait, what are people saying about me?" It's a pretty good one. Well, anyway, I was trying to read it ahead of it. User financial ad 6261 writes, reply by Billy Connolly to a heckler. Save your breath. You'll need it for your blow up doll.
That's not bad.
If somebody says, oh, this is user Mocha Man Bear Pig writes, if somebody says, what are you looking at? I respond with, I'm asking myself the same thing.
Oh, you know what's another great one it's kind of like it's like a comeback, but I think it works universally. It's sort of like the Dominic Cruz one, where it's not you're not even really engaging with them. You just like call out what they're doing, like just very matter of factly. Like someone like says an insult, and you're like, what a weird put down. Like that really seems like you're very insecure about like X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And it's just like so crushing because you're just like psychoanalyzing them on the spot, and you're not even saying anything untrue, and it's just like, oh. You saw through my whole little charade of insecurity, because in that case with the fighters, that's always what it is. They're always insecure, and then he just zeroes right in on that thing. Dominic Cruz definitely does have a
right to the core.
good comeback. Yeah, just shatter any confidence that they have.
Last one I'll read. User Lurky's Go-Kart writes, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. Like, what were we talking about? I wasn't paying attention. Those are funny ones. That was it for Reddit. We're now going to a special edition of Binge and Purge because we didn't have a show prepped or anything. Aaron and I decided we're going to talk about top 5 horror movies.
Yeah,
which are our opinion. Obviously, they're not like
And yeah, not even necessarily. I was going back and forth. I was trying to walk the line between horror movies that I thought are just kind of objectively the best, but also ones that I just enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, okay, if I just did the horror movies that I enjoyed the most, it would all be horror comedy. So I tried to mix some other things in there. But yeah, it was funny that I mentioned at the top of the show, I wrote this screenplay that we're going to try to film, and I still want to kind of work on the screenplay, maybe punch it up a little bit. And it is kind of in the comedy horror genre, and I realized like, oh, I barely watch horror, so I was interested. Like, let's see what are some actually great horror movies, because I feel like a lot of them, are maybe good for people who love the genre, but as a film, in terms of like dialogue and character development and plot, not necessarily the best. But there are some out there. So, without further ado. At the number 5 spot, what is your 5th favorite horror movie?
My 5th favorite horror movie is The Devil's Rejects. And asterisk side note, if I could do it, rank. So those are the Rob Zombie movies. He's made a bunch of movies with his wife, but there's a trilogy that follow the same. I guess you would call them villains.
Mm-hmm.
But Rob Zombie does a good job of almost making them the heroes. Like in the first one was House of 1,000 Corpses, and you right away like these people are insane. They're crazy, and they're like fucking devil worshippers. They're not good people. In the second one, The Devil's Rejects, which is my favorite of the 3, he flips the script and makes them almost to be like the protagonist of the story. So you go from the first one where they're like, oh my god, I don't want anything to do with these psychotic people, to like, oh my god, these guys are fucking super cool. And then the third one was, what was the third one called?
I don't know.
I forget what it was called, but it wasn't that good. The second one, that Devil's Rejects, by far my favorite one.
Okay. Hold on. Sorry.
It's all right.
Let's see. My 5th one was, and I haven't seen this in a long time, so hopefully it holds up, was a movie called Slither. And
Slither.
That was one of James Gunn's first movies. So I believe he wrote and directed it. So if you can kind of think a little bit, in terms of like Guardians of the Galaxy, or he also did Peacemaker, which we covered earlier. It has some of that same vibe where it definitely was comedic. And here, let me just, since I haven't seen it for such a long time, I'll read a quick synopsis. Wheelsley is a small town where not much happens and everyone minds his own business. No one notices when evil slips in quietly, but when people find mutilated livestock and a woman goes missing, Sheriff Bill Party, played by Nathan Fillion, discovers an alien organism that threatens to devour all life on Earth. So it is sort of like a one of those like sort of B level like creature features. There are small worms that can work their way into people's brains and take them over, which is actually not that unfamiliar from what we saw in Peacemaker. But if I remember, like the special effects aren't top notch, but they're still recent enough where they hold up. And it was definitely there were some very good horror elements. There were some good comedic elements. I always liked Nathan Fillion in it, and then there were Elizabeth Banks and Michael Rooker were also featured prominently.
So I'm looking at the cast. I can't recall if I've seen this movie or not, but I'm just kind of looking at other actors in the movie. Jenna Fisher's in it. She's fucking bomb. And also, Rob Zombie does the voice of Dr. Carl. Speaking of Rob Zombie.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, it was a good movie. It just, it didn't get that big of distribution.
I'm gonna have to watch it because I can't remember if I watched it or not.
I remember really enjoying it.
Well, and just like the actors alone, Nathan Fillion, like you said, he's a good actor. I like that guy in anything he does. My number four, The Shining, classic horror suspense starring
Jack Nicholson.
And he's
olive oil.
And olive oil. Dude, you know what's funny is she's just like this awkward, like looking actress that she can be.
Shelley Duvall.
Yeah, she can be a scary, like she adds like a weird tension.
Yeah, well, it's like I know exactly what you mean. Like she kind of looks like she's just haunted by something naturally. So it definitely adds to the atmosphere of any film she's in. Because I really think you needed that sort of eerie supernatural feel in Popeye. And she brought it.
Oh, dude, I just ripped ass and it's not pleasant smelling. Also just like the imagery in The Shining is like pretty spooky and creepy. The bloody seeing the twin girls and all that shit. I want to watch that documentary that was like made like years later that has like a lot of what the Shining, the references in The Shining were supposed to be, like the Kubrick. I gotta watch that documentary. I forget what it was called, but yeah, I think that one was my.
Did you see Dr. Sleep? I have not.
I did watch that one.
Was it good?
It's definitely like references a lot of.
But just for anyone listening, that's supposed to be like a follow up.
Yeah,
made many years later.
Yeah,
where like the little boy in The Shining has grown up, and that's all I know about it. I haven't seen it.
I think had it been shot by, I think the Dr. Sleep or Team Sleep, whatever it was called, if it was shot by Kubrick, it would play out better. But because it was obviously a whole different, made years and years and years later, so technology's different. It had references to the original Shining, but like the connections were kind of loose, kind of. It was okay. It wasn't awful. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, for my number 4 was a movie called It Follows.
It Follows.
So the the basic premise is a little bit hokey, but it's like there's a monster. It's basically like the monster in It Follows is like the STD monster, because the way it works is like it gets passed by having sex. So like if somebody, if person A has sex with person B, then the monster's going to try to kill person B, and once person B is dead, then it'll go back and try to kill person A. So it's like you basically, as soon as you get it, then you want to pass it on to somebody else.
So you just want to go and fuck people,
basically, and then it was a really, really well done movie with, I would imagine, like a minimal budget, because you hardly ever like see the monster, and a lot of times when you do see it, it's just like it takes like a person's form, but they managed to just do so much with so little. It was really, really creepy and suspenseful. And part of the thing was like it's called It Follows because it just follows you around, and it's very slow, and so it'd be easy to run away from it on any given encounter, but it just keeps coming. You can't get away from it. It'll follow you eventually. And I am curious on how much that budget was, but part of the reason I really liked it was I remember from a filmmaking standpoint, I thought it was extremely well done. I thought it was really impressive how much they could do with so little. And then I also saw it in this theater in the Poconos completely by myself. So it was this just empty movie theater, just me sitting in the center aisle.
Spooky.
I probably did have Mike's Hard Lemonade, which kind of kind of cut the tension a little bit, but it was a really well done horror movie, and it was an interesting premise, right? Like it was a different sort of horror monster than what we've seen, and so for that reason, it was my number 4.
My number 3, Shaun of the Dead. I love that movie. I love zombie shit in general, like zombie movies of all kind. I think it'd be awful zombie movies, and I'm probably gonna still watch it and be okay with it as long as it's not really campy.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, they did such a good job of blending the zombie genre with the humor of Simon Pegg and what's the other guy's name?
Nick Frost.
Nick Frost. Oh my God, they're the dynamic duo in that trilogy you're talking about, the whatever you call the trilogy.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But for sure, one of my favorite movies. In fact, it's like one of those movies that sometimes I just want it to play and have it lull me to bed. Like it's a horror movie that does that to you because it's like funny
so
and like
good.
yeah.
Well, and one of the things too that I really enjoyed was it was 100% true to the genre. And what I mean by that is like a movie like a scary movie is a parody.
Yeah.
It's kind of making fun of the genre, whereas Shaun of the Dead, like it is just a legitimately good zombie movie, but you have these ridiculous people dropped into the middle of it, and it's not making fun of the genre. It's like really embracing it, which I enjoyed. So it's like both a great comedy and a great zombie movie, I think.
Mm-hmm. What's your number 3, dude?
Oh yeah, I forgot. I got all excited about Shaun of the Dead. Spoiler alert, that's my number 1. So I'll talk more about that in a second. Okay, my number 3 was The Others.
The Others. That's Nicole Kidman, yeah?
Yeah, so basically, I was going back and forth between The Others and The Sixth Sense. Because they're very, very similar movies. But, I think everyone's seen The Sixth Sense. And The Others is essentially the reverse of that. They're like, oh, what if we told a Sixth Sense type story, but from the perspective of the ghosts? Because that was the thing that they said in The Sixth Sense. They're like, oh, sometimes the ghosts don't even know they're dead. Like, they don't realize what's going on. So, I mean, that also had a great reveal. And the reason The Sixth Sense is just objectively a much better movie than The Others. But The Other was very good, and it felt more like a horror movie.
Yeah.
And it really did have that, like, ominous tension that whole time of, like, what's going on. Like, you're in a haunted house, but you're seeing it from the ghost perspective. And if you haven't seen The Others, I just really spoiled the whole thing for you.
I have it. I own it. It's a good movie.
But that was also, it was a really good performance from Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
And probably an undervalued performance because it's going to always be compared to The Sixth Sense. And Nicole Kidman, I know she had obviously been an actress for a long time and completely got shown up by like a 7-year-old kid. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't a great performance. So that's my number 3, The Others.
My number 2 is 28 Days Later. Again, zombie genre shit. I love it. And this one was, for me, the first time we saw, like, fast zombies. And also where it kind of explained the virus in a sort of believable way. Like, in most other zombie movies, you're like, okay, there's zombies, but how the fuck?
Yeah.
How did it happen? And this one kind of explains it in that, it was a virus that was started by they were fucking genetically fucking around with like monkeys and making them more aggressive, and then that monkey bit somebody and made them more like aggressive, and so it's sort of kind of
completely impossible. A virus would never be unleashed globally because somebody was fucking around in a lab. That could never happen.
Somebody fucking around in a lab and bats and animals and viruses and diseases and shit. So that one, and then like I said, 28 Days Later did a good job of it, where it wasn't it wasn't campy, it wasn't hokey. It was like they were really trying to survive, and where can we? What's the best place to survive? They go out in the middle of nowhere where there's like about that, and
28 Days Later was one of my honorable mentions.
oh
I like that movie too. I feel like they did such a good job of like dropping you into the perspective of the main character,
yeah.
where you really felt like you could feel that like tension of like what the fuck's going on.
Did you watch 28 Weeks Later?
I did. I don't remember that one as well, but I did watch it.
Yeah, it's not as good. It was still good, but not as good because then the first one was better for sure.
Well, do you remember the opening like sequence from the first one?
The opening sequence from the first one.
Yeah.
Well, then they do the
so the main character, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, he was hospitalized and he was in a coma.
yeah.
So he's like waking up, and he's waking up, 28 days after this outbreak, and it's just in this kind of desolate, abandoned, like London. I think it was London.
Yeah, the actual
you're just like, what the fuck just happened?
the actual opening stuff is like as they're rolling the intro credits, there's all the stuff of like the mass hysteria, blah 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 blah. So I guess if you want to call that the opening scene, but they talk about the monkeys, and there was this like a group that was like protesting against animal testing on animals, and then they break into this lab, and then that's how the monkey gets out of the lab, and then they fast forward a little bit to the protagonist waking up from a coma and all that shit. Anyway, what's your number 2?
My number 2 was Get Out.
I enjoyed that one.
Well, and that was one where I was kind of saying my issue with horror is always, I'm like, man, I don't feel like the dialogue, the plot, the character development is there, and you get really strong performances, and I think in every aspect, Get Out was really strong. And then on top of that, there's obviously like a healthy dose of social commentary on top of that.
Yeah.
But like, man, like Catherine Keener, just that one scene where she's stirring the tea, and there's that clink of the spoon, that was so fucking eerie and chilling. And like, that's it. She's just stirring a spoon around in a teacup, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then you also you do get I think really really good character development, and there's some twists and turns. Like the plotting is good, and that was also one where the reveal of what's going on strengthened the movie to me, because I feel like sometimes in these horror movies where it's like there's this thing happening, there's people disappearing, whatever, and then I find out what it is, and I'm like, that was it?
Yeah.
That was the thing, you fuckers. And this one you're like, oh, all right, Get Out. Like, so that was this was obviously the breakout directorial debut of Jordan Peele, formerly of Key and Peele, a comedy sketch show / Chappelle Show clone, and everyone was like, "Wait, what the fuck?" Like, Jordan Peele made this movie, and it was so good. I mean, I think, and all the different horror lists I was looking at, this was near the top.
Well, he's made other horror movies, right? He's made Get Out, and then there was the other one,
Us,
was also pretty good. And I think he's working on a third one, if I'm not mistaken.
So I think he's working on a fourth.
Oh.
He did one, I believe it was called Candyman. I haven't seen it.
Oh yeah. If you count that, yeah. But Candyman is a reboot of the original Candyman from the 80s or whatever. But yeah, he did that one, and that one actually was pretty good. It was a pretty good, different, newer, updated rendition of the original Candyman.
And I think he's also doing like a horror series.
Oh.
But yeah, it's was definitely surprising that this guy that we knew as a comedic actor suddenly became like one of the greatest horror directors of all time. Just seemed like he just had it in him, and this was the movie that launched it, and still my favorite of all the ones I've seen.
I think what's good about his movies is he's able to address the racial commentary stuff without it being like shoving down your throat. Like it's there for sure. But it's not like, haha, racism. It's all kind of like in Candyman, he obviously, the people living in the projects where the Candyman was haunted, they're not well-to-do people. They're living in slums for the most part. So there's the black community gets affected by the whole Candyman mythology stuff, and in Us and Get Out, like for sure, racial stuff is.
Well, can I give you like an example?
Okay.
Because there's a horror movie I tried to watch on Netflix called The Rental, and it was like Dave Franco's directorial debut, and his wife Alison Brie, who was in Community, and she was also on a series called Glow. She was in it. I was like, oh, cool, like I'll watch that, and it got like decent reviews, and I could not make it that far into the movie because. Like some of the opening dialogue was so bad. Like there was this giant exposition dump where this guy is talking to Alison Brie, who's his wife in the movie, and he's like yeah, like of course, like my brother, would like this girl because he dropped out of high school and he did this and that and he's a loser, and he's like giving the whole biography of his brother to the wife that would already know all this. And I'm like, this is terrible writing. This is what's called needless exposition. And then the part where I just stopped watching was they were definitely trying to set up some racial tension, racial elements, which is fine because like if you do it right, like Jordan Peele, it's like I'm completely down for that.
Yeah.
But like the issue was they were trying to rent this big house on the coast, and like one of the it seems like there were four. There was like the brother and his girlfriend, and then the older brother and Alison Brie, and they were trying to rent this huge house on the coast, and the girlfriend has like an Arabic name, and she doesn't get they were trying to rent through like a fake like Airbnb sort of thing, and they don't rent to her, but then they rent to the brother, but like. But they're just like bringing it up like so heavy-handed.
Yeah.
They're like, well, why wouldn't they rent to me? Is it it's because I have an Arabic name, and I was like, okay, but you could even have
hide
this
it a bit better.
Well, you could have the same dialogue, but like not make it so heavy-handed.
Yeah.
And then I made it maybe like 10 minutes into the movie, and she confronts the guy who is renting the house out, and. It was just like so on the nose, like so like just like kind of hitting you over the head with it. I'm like, dude,
Are you saying on the nose because Arabs have big noses?
Sorry, on the burqa. They were hitting it so on the burqa.
Oh, you bastard! That was
two. Can I give you my honorable mention?
No, wait, we haven't done our number ones yet.
Right, so that's how you always do it. You do your top.
Okay.
Sure. You get to everything, and then before you do number one, you give honorable mentions.
Okay.
The only one that I talked about 28 Days Later, but one of my honorable mentions is Attack the Block. Love that movie.
I love it too. I love that movie. John Boyega's I think it was his acting debut.
He was just a little baby John Boyega in that movie.
Yeah, baby Finn.
It is that is an alien movie. It's also kind of horror comedy.
It does a good job of like blending a little bit of like that kind of camaraderie between a bunch of just kids, like kind of like Goonies did.
I was about to say, the Goonies versus Aliens.
Yeah, it's like Goonies. Yeah, and they do a good job of like obviously in that one, like we were talking about the Key and Peele, Jordan Peele movies. Like there's a little bit of like they're living in a shitty part, and then the girl that was the victim ends up living in that same shitty, they think she's from like a better well-to-do area.
The premise is these like aliens that they're it's really hard to describe them. It was a really interesting protagonist. It's like they're like these like black, like almost like sucking light into them, but they're kind of like they almost look like big like porcupines, but they're like black and sucking light into them, and it's very hard to even see what they are exactly. But
what do they call them? The gorilla wolf motherfuckers? Or
yeah,
the big gorilla wolf motherfuckers.
But like one of them that you don't I don't actually want to give any of the plot, but one of them crashes into basically what are projects in the UK.
Yeah,
and there's like little like there's like little street kids are like fuck you, isn't it? You're not taking over. And they just they just kill it.
Yeah,
and they're like all proud of themselves that they killed an alien, and this triggers a whole invasion, and then so you've got
They're supposed to be making a sequel to that. You know that?
I would watch that 100%.
I own the first one. I'm hoping they do make a sequel.
That was my honorable mention. Did you have any?
Yeah, I do actually. The original Scream was such a good, and not that it was a great horror movie, so to speak, but it brought back the whole jump scare genre. Like for a while, there wasn't movies that, like, there were movies here and there that would use the jump scare tactic here and there. But with the Scream franchise, like almost every single movie uses it very well. The most current one, I enjoyed it. Some people didn't like the most recent Scream, but I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
The first one for sure, it blended humor. I mean, there was definitely like lighthearted elements to it, but also the jump scare, and there was gore. Like, fuck, this dude's running around, and it made the villain.
Hey, hold up. Actually, this is real. Because I drank all the caffeine really quickly. I have to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Hey, Mondo.
What?
I'll be right back.
Top 10 things you don't say during a horror movie. You don't say I'll be right back. Blah 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 blah. There's this whole list of things that you're not supposed to do or say when in a horror movie, and that was what Aaron was doing right now. So Scream, yeah, I remember watching that shit in the theaters when it first came out, and hearing like the whole, oh, it's such a good movie, you gotta go watch it. What, it's so scary, and expecting so much more, but it was the stuff that you didn't expect, the jump scare stuff that didn't, that made it such a good movie. It was a good date movie because, like, if you're with a chick, and obviously she gets scared, she wants to go like hug you for whatever protection or security or whatever. So that was a good movie. That was in my honorable mention. Another one. Can I do another honorable mention?
Yeah,
okay.
I've got two more now that I think about it. So go ahead.
The very first Blair Witch Project movie, when that came out, like, it got so much like fanfare around then because of the way it's shot. The camera's like almost never steady. It caused like certain viewers of the movie to get like vertigo and shit, and so like it gave it more of an element like, oh, this forbidden movie, don't watch it, you're gonna throw up and get sick.
It actually spawned an entire genre. It's called the found footage genre. So there's so many movies that came after that.
Yeah.
And that were also much better.
The
I thought that movie was dog shit.
You didn't like the first Blair Witch?
I did not.
I thought it was great. And then they made a sequel. The sequel was more of a produced.
Yeah.
It had a produced feel. It wasn't as good. It was that. I thought that one was dog shit. And then they made another one like maybe 5 years ago or less. Like pretty recently, they remade or they did the Blair Witch Project movie again.
I mean, you know what? Credit to them for making a movie with like literally no budget, and I don't think they had a script. I think they had like a rough outline.
Yeah.
And it was just that was it.
Yeah.
And you know what? That movie made a lot of money, so good for them.
All right, go ahead. What's your other honorable mention?
I've got two. These are both in the sort of horror comedy.
We're going
genre.
pretty long, so let's keep it.
Okay. Okay. I'll just say them. I have three. I'll just say all of them.
Jesus.
One, Zombieland.
Okay, love it.
Love that movie. Two, Final Girls.
Don't know what that is.
It again, I'm a little bit of a genre mashup. And then three is called Happy Death Day. And if you're looking for a fun horror, it's kind of a slasher. It's like the premise is basically this sort of like kind of just completely like miserable, like bitchy sorority girl like wakes up in this guy's dorm room in his bed after like blackout drinking, and then she kind of goes through her day and she gets murdered at the end of it, and then she wakes up again. It's got that like Groundhog Day element where like every time she keeps getting killed and waking up in his bed, and then eventually has to like try to figure out who's killing her.
Yeah. Which
makes her realize that she's just a piece of shit human being, and it's kind of like a nice like little happy arc. That's it.
Our number one horror movies of all time, mine is The Nightmare on Elm Street, because when it came out, I was like 4, 5, 6 years old, and we watched it in a fucking dark room with lights out, and with like it, and then the special effects back then weren't the top quality that they are now, but the special effects back then were just enough to fool you and make you think that this shit was real. And on top of that, Freddy Freddy came after you when you were sleeping. So like, oh shit, I'm scared. I have nowhere to hide. If I go to bed, the fucker's gonna kill me. And so that's why it makes it my number one.
I've never seen Nightmare on Elm Street.
Dude, it might not hold up now, but it's for sure my favorite.
We already talked about my favorite was Shaun of the Dead. That's one of probably my top 3 favorite movies of all time. Is Shaun of the Dead, and I figured I could leave that because there are 3 other movies they call it a trilogy. It's more of like an anthology, 2 other movies. There's Hot Fuzz, which is like more of a slasher movie. It's like a slasher movie combined with like a buddy cop movie, which is fucking hilarious. I love that movie too. And then they had a third one, which was World's End, which I didn't think was as good as the other 2, but it's still an excellent movie. I might have to go back and watch that.
I liked World's End more than Hot Fuzz.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Maybe I will have to watch it again. Hot Fuzz. It still it still has one of the funniest lines. I mean I thought it was hilarious. Was like this London policeman gets sent out to a country town and he doesn't think anything's going on, and then you kind of realize like, oh, like there's some shit going on like behind the facade of this like perfect quaint little town. And there's this one part where one of the characters is like, it's like, what do you mean? Like everyone's packing around here, like everyone has guns, and he's like who? And he's like, farmers. Yeah, and who? No, I fucked the line up. He goes, everyone and their moms are packing out here, and he's like who? Farmers. Who else? Farmers' moms. His dialogue is so good. It's just like so like boom 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 boom. There's like a rhythm to it that I always love, and that was just like such a good like little punchy bit of dialogue. But I thought the whole movie was outstanding. I think you liked World's End because it was about a pub crawl.
Sure. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. We went really long this time.
Oh, did we really?
Yeah. If you have any questions, comments, please email us. Social media, contact us, blah, blah, blah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed. We will see you guys in a